Hello, and welcome to How Y'all Healing, a series of conversations with healers, leaders, and organizations about their healing journey and the importance of health and wellness for Black and Brown people. We talk to guests about the work that they are doing to heal our communities and find out what's in their personal self-care package. I am your host, Spry Lee Scott, and this is How Y'all Healing. What's up, everybody? Like the intro said, I am your host, Spry Lee Scott, and this is another episode of How Y'all Healing. And before we get to the actual show, I really want to show my love and appreciation for everybody that has been showing the podcast so much love. I mean, from the reviews to the listens and everything else in between. I really, really do appreciate y'all, and you all are adding to the success of the show. So again, I just want to send out my heartfelt appreciation and gratitude to the How Y'all Healing community for making sure that we stay on top. And this is a journey that we are going to take together. So again, I'm going to say thank y'all. And I'm giving y'all a round of applause. Y'all said y'all loved the applause. That was the feedback. And so I guess we're going to keep it from here on out. We have a guest this week, and it is a brother that I am excited to have here with us today. And we're going to jump right into it because I want to take all the time that we can to get into this conversation. And our guest this episode is Dr. Pooch, who began his personal holistic health journey in 2012. After extensive training in holistic healing systems for both children and adults, he began building his holistic health practice. Since then, he has worked broadly with the Los Angeles School District and has been successful in the implementation of holistic approaches to addressing, correcting, and improving childhood behavioral issues, academic delays, and emotional health. He is also the creator of the world's first early holistic health curriculum, a fantastic and informative series entitled The Get Well Johnny 12. Dr. Pooch is on a mission to train and educate families, the fundamentals of holistic health through his books and creative educational content. Please welcome Dr. Pooch.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in.
Hey, it's great. It's great. Thank you for having me, Spry.
Yeah, we met at a health fair for Black men,
Yep.
right in Brooklyn, and
in a historic place in
in Weeksville Center, which is one of the oldest, I think it's the oldest Black village in New York.
Sounds about right.
And so y'all can look that up. They still give tours, and some of the houses are still up. Y'all can look that up on your own. I'm not going to mess up the history of it here, but we did meet there, and we just hit it off. Like, we found out that we were aligned with the same mission of bringing healing to the world, basically. And I just knew that I wanted to connect with you. And I think this is before we even launched the podcast, and we said that we were going to do something. We wanted to continue this conversation. Wow. So here we are.
A man of your word. That's what men do.
Yes, thank you. And I want to start off with a quote from your website because it's so aligned with the work that we do with my company, Medicine for Melanin, and with the podcast, How Y'all Healing. You say we all want the same thing, to raise health, literate, capable, cooperative, responsible, and respectful children who will grow into emotionally healthy and authentic adults, connected to themselves and their purpose. My vision is to connect and inspire families and communities so that they feel empowered to raise children who are wholly connected with themselves, to others, and to the earth that we live in. Why did you choose this journey, or why did this journey choose you?
There you go. Right. That's what I was gonna say. Maybe the journey actually chose me. Let's start off with the name, Dr. Pooch. I'm not a doctor per se. I'm not a PhD. I was actually in and out of school, but Dr. Pooch has been a nickname that I've had before I was able to probably say my first words. I've
Okay.
been Dr. Pooch my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And, people resonate with their name. Whatever you call somebody, they're going to become that. Just like this bottle of water, whatever I call this bottle of water, the water is going to respond to that, the molecular structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is like cutting edge science, but it's also ancient, science.
Okay.
And so, like, say if I say, I love you, water, right? It's going to change the molecular structure of that water to become, if you flash freeze it, it's going to become a beautiful crystal. If you say, I hate you to the water, to the bottle of water or to a body of water, the molecular structure is going to change to form a non-geometrical shape, like a very ugly, shape.
Okay.
So back to the name, I was called Dr. Pooch for my whole life, and it made an imprint on me, like in my bloodstream, in my genetic code. I literally embody Dr. Pooch, and still am learning in my conscious mind of what that means. But the imprint is already there.
Right.
This Dr. Pooch, and doctor is a Latin word that means to teach. And a lot of our doctors in our current society, they're not teaching anymore. They just talk over people, and they're very authoritarian. And I think that the teaching is what's missing.
Okay.
So I've always resonated with children. I'm just a natural educator. I guess it goes back to the name. I have to go back to the root of it. And I've always been in schools. Even as a youngster, I moved abroad. I was born in Los Angeles, but I moved abroad. My dad sent me and my brother away to go to school in Senegal for the most part of it. We were in Senegal, and that's where he's from. And even then, I was tutoring in English. So I had like kids. I was like 12 years old. I'm tutoring 16, 17-year-olds just to get some little side money.
Right.
So I've always been an educator, natural, just teaching.
And not just side money, but it was also a part of your preparation. You were
Well said.
aligning with what your ultimate task here on earth is supposed to be, which is, again, going back to doctor. Doctor meaning teaching. You were teaching. You were already the doctor.
So I'm still kind of trying to understand what this name means and what does Dr. Pooch represent to the world. I know what I've done already is pretty impactful, but I'm still learning different aspects of myself and learning to incorporate those aspects, because I used to shy away from the name. Nobody outside of my immediate family really called me Dr. Pooch. Like that was the family name. And early on, like in my rap career, I didn't choose that name. I was running away from that name because I didn't understand the full impact of what that was. So I was running away from it. And I had a real, I guess, identity crisis. So when I fully embraced the healing aspect of it, that's when I said, okay, I know what to call myself. And now I'm so proud of this name, and I literally wear it.
I'm sure when people hear doctor, immediately they go to medical doctor, and they're looking for that kind of, I guess, relationship with you. But it's more so like, nah, like I'm gonna teach you for real. Like we gonna heal. Right. And one of the things I've heard a while ago is about healers. A true healer is going to teach you how to heal yourself where you're not dependent on them anymore. And when you look at Western medicine, a lot of times is about you continuing to depend on the doctor.
Yeah. That thought came to me earlier before I left home. My wife is Ethiopian. Her mother's name is Medhin. And that is the origin of the word medicine, Medhin.
Medhin.
So there's a prayer in Amharic, they say medhani yalam, right? And it's a prayer to God because that name Medhin is actually an attribute of God. Medicine is actually a spiritual word. So there's a spiritual aspect to healing, sunlight and these other attributes that are healing us and that our body resonates with and responds to. So this is a divine practice.
Wow. Yeah, and we could go down a whole rabbit hole with that, but I want to get back to you. So you started your healing journey in 2012. Yeah. What prompted that part of your journey?
Well, it was a lead up to 2012. Prior to that, I was in and out of college, right? I went to community college, and I literally was trying to find what I wanted to do. So I would open up the catalog in school and say, oh, this class looks nice. Oh, this botany class looks interesting. Oh, this biology class. Oh, this guitar class. Oh, this English class, right? And I would just tailor my own curriculum. I took all of the English courses that I could take, all of the creative writing, and I was excelling in those classes. Like, the teacher would, turn the lights off and Hassan, can you read what you it was like that type of thing. And it was just life that put me in a certain position, and I wasn't able to follow what at that time I wanted to do. And then I fell out of school. I just got a job and working in schools, working with autistic children. That was interesting in of itself. The school, I was like about 18, maybe 19 years old. The school developed a position for me and gave me my own classroom. That's how effective I was helping these children. When they had outbursts, they literally had these security guards, kind of big football-looking player guys.
Right.
They would be in this little room. If a kid had a crisis, they would sometimes have to hold that kid down, right? So instead of doing that, they would just send them to Mr. Hassan, and Mr. Hassan would, change their day around, and, I was always cool, calm, and collected, and get them to do their work and send them back to class,
It's funny. I had a very similar experience because I worked in the school system with at-risk youth straight out of high school. And it was the same thing where the young people there, when they got out of hand, they would be restrained. Yeah. And I was able to build a relationship with them where we didn't have to go that route most of the time. And it's about relationship and being able to have an understanding with these young people. And I think essentially that's what young people want. They want to be seen. They want to be understood. They want to be heard.
That's it. Some of these kids, man, if you wouldn't believe me, and I don't want to put some of these kids on blast, but there's kids that were in that school, supposedly at risk, supposedly on the spectrum, supposedly, all these labels that we put on the kids. Some of those kids are actors and directors right now. They've been on the big screen. Some of those kids have won a Grammy.
Wow.
And these are the kids that the system throws away. There's genius in them, and I was able to see that and help harness that within them and make them feel good, make them feel, like they were worth something.
Right.
So that happened. And I was still trying to, find my educational path. I was looking into Chinese medicine. So I was like, all right, I need to take Chinese. And I took a year of Chinese and learned like hundreds and hundreds of characters, and I was having a good time. Then the more I studied, I was like, this doesn't really speak to my soul. So I diverged again, sought another path. And it was my sister, actually, who found a holistic health coaching program. And that's why I put the marker of 2012. It's not,
right.
The Mayan calendar or anything like that. It just happened to be, that was the turning point. That was the year actually that I graduated. So it was like 2011. It was a 1-year program, but it put an entrepreneurial spirit behind this passion that I had for health. And it exposed me to a range of modalities and different people in the field, people that, incorporated different dietary, theories and plans, people, from all around the world. Even Deepak Chopra was one of the teachers. David Wolf was, they had all these different modules, and I learned from all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
Then I went back to school to another community college, and I met a brother there that he's a doctor, but he was the anatomy teacher, and we hit it off. Like, we became friends. To this day, we're friends.
Mm-hmm.
And he would always start the class off with, like real revolutionary spirit, just like, hey, this is the latest in the news, and this is what's happening in Africa, and woo, woo, woo.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, back to class, and then we get into the physiology or anatomy or whatever. And so, he's really impactful. I was like, wow, I like that. I could do that. I could, see a black man, strong, and it's like I resonated with that.
Right.
And he would always give us supplemental information, just handouts, and he gave us Dr. Sebi's information.
Okay.
One day, it was like one of the names of different healers, and bam, that put me down a rabbit hole. Because I was in L.A., so. I pulled up on Dr. Sebi and then just started, I would go to the office regularly and, just experience the herbs and then look on the back of the label and start studying them, and then go to where he was copping the herbs from and then build a relationship with them and, buying these things wholesale and then building my own clientele and helping people. Like, it was just one thing unveiling into the next, one thing unfolding into the next. And I really became overly passionate about cracking Dr. Sebi's codes. Really, that's what it was. I was like, I got to crack his codes because I can make these herbs. And, it speaks to me. I know that herbal remedies work. And now it's about, how can I put these compounds together and help people? And what other compounds are out there in the world? That was something since a youth that always fascinated me. The Amazon forest, I lived in Africa, so I was a sickly child. I got malaria numerous times. I was very undernourished, malnourished, and I would get sick a lot because it was in an area in Senegal that, I don't know, those mosquitoes were crazy. I call them tiger mosquitoes. They had these stripes on them, and they would, you have a sweater on, they'll get through it.
Right.
So I was living at a pharmacist's house. He had a pharmacy in my grandmother's neighborhood, actually, in Senegal. I remember with the medicine that he would give me, there was some bitter compounds that were effective for malaria, and that was made from certain herbs like quassia, like the quassia chip, right?
Okay.
Those range of herbs. And then I would get these charcoal tablets.
Okay.
And the charcoal tablets, like, they worked. I was like, yo, this is amazing. This is natural. This is my earliest relationship with health and healing. And even my grandmother, she did cupping. So this is actually even an African practice of like what the Chinese people do, of cupping and, that like sucking the toxins out of the back, out of the lungs and stuff like that. And so I was exposed to all of this stuff. And then imagine, a young 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, finally like 16 years old, I come back to L.A., my mind is like,
And then to just being around Dr. Sebi,
yeah,
I think it was also a part of what was already ingrained in you. So I'm sure that a lot of the herbs and things like that you were introduced to with Dr. Sebi, you had somehow, one way or the other, had come in contact with it before.
Oh yeah. Maybe not those exact herbs,
right?
But Senegal definitely has, they have their herbal remedies, the kinkeliba, the baobab, all of these things that we just, use on an everyday basis.
Right, and just with a lot of the indigenous practices,
Mm-hmm.
these are our practices that are ingrained in us. And so the same way a child now is born knowing how to use an iPad because it's in their DNA is the same way that we are born knowing how to interact somehow or the other with certain herbs and, things from the earth because it is a part of our culture.
Yeah, our environment,
Right. So I want to get to this series. So because the series is pretty much all of your but a lot of your knowledge in the books now. It's the same way that you were trying to get this information and crack the codes that Dr. Sebi, from Dr. Sebi, you are sparking a new generation that's coming up that they don't have to crack the codes because the codes are being given to them.
Right.
So let's talk about the Get Well Johnny 12 series.
Yeah.
How did that start?
I got certified as a holistic health coach, and it put an entrepreneurial spirit behind the passion that I already innately had as an amateur healer.
Right.
So I would go out into the community. I would go out into the Crenshaw district in L.A. and there's like a park right across from Lamert Park, and we call it the Triangle Park. And every Friday, that would be the meeting. And it started with 3 brothers, 5, 7, till it was like 12, 13, 15, black men. And I would lead a discussion. And so you put black men in a space together, they're going to find some way to, hustle and make money, especially with the knowledge going around. So I ended up working with this one brother, and we were brainstorming a ton of different ideas. We were doing a ton of different things. And one day, I was in like a meditation, and I heard mustache, right? And I was like, mustache. That's a good character for a book. And, right? And I was already thinking about books. I was with my wife, and we're thinking we're going to write books about like African tales, right?
Okay.
And within this brainstorming session, it just hit like health, books. Oh, doctor. Then I was like, okay, so Mustache, Johnny Mustache is the main character.
Okay.
So this book series, Get Well Johnny, started off as The Adventures of Mustache.
Okay.
And so later on, I was like, no, Get Well Johnny. It sounds more of what this encompasses. And the floodgates opened. The intuition just came. And I'm a creator. Like, this never really happened to me, like, where just what people would say a download, Like, I was in the shower.
Okay.
And I got a whole book, like, just boom.
Water is powerful, too.
It's amazing.
We could manifest some things in water.
Right. So I'm coming out the shower dripping wet, and I just wrote it all down, that whole book. And then from there, I hopped on a school tour. Being on the school tour showed me the needs that the schools were missing. So it consumed me. I was like, oh, okay. Oh, bullying is a big thing. Okay, I need to talk about bullying. Oh, I need to talk about Whole Foods. Oh, these kids are dealing with allergies. And it's like one after the next. So I developed 12 books between 2011 and 2012. And I looked back at it, I was like, it's complete. These are the major pillars, and I cannot add anything else. I can, and I will be releasing more books in the series, but these 12 are the pillars of holistic health, nutritional health, social emotional health, and environmental health.
Right.
Like, it was it. And I sat back, I was like, whoa, this is it. This is the future.
The holistic approach.
The holistic approach.
And so your focus is young people.
Yeah.
So why young people instead of the parents?
Well, as I was trained at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, we would take clients on a 6-month journey. Most adults, especially, in our community, in our neighborhood, like, they're not going to, stick with the 6 months. Like, they'll get some information and be like, all right, yeah, that's okay. I applied that.
Right.
That worked. Thank you. I'm good. Only a few of my clients actually went through the full program. I saw adults dealing with diabetes, with stroke, with obesity, with a range of issues, not knowing how to shop, not knowing how to cook, right? And I helped them.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw the root cause of the issue was their inner child. It stems back from their childhood. That's what I was really attempting to heal with these adults.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've worked with adults in that capacity, especially black men, especially, but, women are more so open to change,
Mm-hmm.
But the men are staunch. They're just like, nah, this is what I do. Just help me with that, and that's it,
Right.
And so I said, what am I doing? Like, if I wanted, back to, who said that? Frederick Douglass? Was it Frederick Douglass that said that? Give me a child, and I'll build him into a great man. But give me a broken adult, a broken man, and I can't do anything. Something he said it way more eloquently.
Okay.
But essentially, it was that a broken adult more than likely will remain broken because
Right.
it's deep within them. But
Right.
a child, even a broken child, you can heal that child and give them another perspective and another experience in life and plant that seed that can grow into a strong tree.
Right. I mean, another way to say it is just that as grown folks, we get stuck in our ways.
Yeah.
And you can't, you could lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it.
Can't make 'em-
But they also need to understand how it's going to help them. And sometimes they're, again, so stuck in their ways that they can't see past what's in front of them to realize the benefits of, that long-term healing. And so when we go back to Western medicine, and it's easier to take an aspirin for a headache than to kind of like wait it out and drink some water and things like that.
I think especially with, as it relates to like medicine and melanin, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of us are brainwashed by white supremacy, unfortunately, and we believe the hype. We'll look at our own people and be like, man, this dude don't have nothing. Let me go with what the doctors prescribe because they're better. They're real doctors.
I don't think it's necessarily just because they think it's better, but it's because of what we learned.
But we learned it because of what?
What I try to remind myself of in this space is I had to come to a space where I was able to see it, but I also had to be open. And even where I am right now, like there's so much more information that I know is out there for me to learn. And I hope that someone who is more knowledgeable or in that space gives me enough grace to find my own path. And that's the same thing with the people who are coming behind us. Because we could tell people what you need. But I think the best thing for us to do is just lead by example. Even with your books, teaching the young people, because now they have less years of uninformed information, for lack of better terms, to unlearn.
They've been less indoctrinated, and that's what I'm saying. It's a culture of the Western way is the right way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just like back to the medhen, these words were once ours, but we've lost the sense of the culture around these terms. So now it becomes foreign, and we've adopted a foreign perspective into our own life. So we'll take the aspirin, and we won't drink the water, or we won't wait it out, or we won't do breath work, or things like that, because we think that that's foreign.
Right.
But that's really ours.
A lot of our indigenous practices, we've been taught that it's bad or it's evil because the people who kept it from us, they understood how powerful it actually was.
Right.
And so now what you've done is take this knowledge and put it in these books where you can teach these young people. So, and I think there's a part of our DNA that recognizes it. So it's kind of like, even though they're being introduced to it, they're kind of sort of being reminded of what's happening
at early on. They know innately this makes sense. it makes sense that apple is better than chips, you know.
Right.
But society will tell you a calorie is a calorie,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and we still have adults believing that a calorie is a calorie,
Right.
you know. But they're not equal. But you don't have to convince a child that drinking water is better than drinking a soda. Like, you don't have to. But here we are. We have whole symposiums for adults saying, well, you can still have your you know, your Diet Coke and your this and that. It's okay in moderation, but you tell a child this is good, this is bad.
Mm-hmm.
There's no gray area.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
And in your books now give them the power of choice.
Yes.
So at least now they have something to compare it to, because I think that's the other part of it, is that sometimes we don't have anything else to compare it to. Yeah. It's like, this is all we know. This is all what we've grown up with. So now I get to see something different, and I get to make a choice. Yeah. And so let's talk about the series.
Sure. So sugar from nature is always fine. It's only a hazard when sugar's refined. Right, so
okay.
we go into natural sugar versus refined sugar. And mind you, like, the best way I can describe these books is like Dr. Seuss meets Dr. Sebi.
Okay,
that's what I tell people. Like, and they're like, "Oh, I get it." You know,
right? It's technically just breaking it down into a form where young people will understand it, and I think that that's the way to go. When we empower young people, then they're able to teach their parents and help their parents on their healing journey.
Yeah.
You know, so superfoods.
And that's superfoods are super fun. They're super good for everyone.
Right.
Right. So I just gave you the bars because children learn through song and rhythm
and rhyme,
and play, right? And like, you're right about what you just said. The child is going to hold you accountable to what they just learned.
They will.
So you can't tell them, oh, you know why these superheroes are so great? Well, because they're eating superfoods, right? And then go ahead and go to McDonald's and be like, well, you know, it's okay just once in a while. They're going to be confused. You have to be consistent. Consistency is key in parenting. Consistency. And they will hold you accountable. They'll be like, Mom, Dad, didn't you just say that? You know, this anyway.
Right.
So whole food is better. So keep it together.
Right.
Right. So we got to eat whole foods.
Right. And then being able to break down what some of the whole foods
what
are.
a whole food is, as opposed to, I love some of the lines in here. I'll read some of my favorite lines. So the character Get Well Johnny, he goes through. He goes to the garden, he goes to the farmer, he goes to the neighborhood deli, and he's finding out what whole foods are, all the seeds, the nuts, the beans, the vegetables and fruits of all kind, and right, he's like learning all of this stuff about fruits. And then he says, on my way home, I got hungry and made a quick stop. I sat down to eat at a hamburger spot. I stared at the menu and couldn't decide. I said, what do you have besides burgers and fries? The waitress said, she said, we have milkshakes, sodas, and cinnamon rolls. I said, yes, ma'am, but do you have any food that is whole? The waitress said, whole food? Why, I don't know what that is. All of our food just comes from the fridge, right? And she shows this little patty that, you know, this little ugly thing that's where food comes from in processed food, in a McDonald's, in a Burger King, in a Carl's, you know, Wendy's, wherever you're eating, Taco Bell. It's just prepackaged food that the person that's working there does not know what they are. And then he starts educating her. Why, you know, this is what whole foods are, right? So
you deal with foods, but again, your series itself is on a holistic approach to healing. So you talk about bullying, I think, is one of the topics in one of the books as well.
Exactly. So this is actually book 4 of the series. I'm going in sequential order.
Okay.
So these 3, this is book 1, 2, and 3 that you just heard. And just these 3 alone can help a child and a family eat healthy and be mindful, because it's not only stories, they're activities, they're recipes. It's a full-on curriculum that we can implement in school or at home.
So it's not only telling the what, but it's also giving the how as well.
Absolutely,
as well.
Absolutely. It's holistic in practice. Right. It's not just a story. There's even a tidbit for the parents. There's a note to parent in the beginning of every book where I could talk to the adult in adult language. Okay. And then I break down the same topic for children. in
Okay.
children's language.
Well, I could tell you from working with adults, sometimes we'll probably get it more in the children's side of the story than we will from reading the adult notes.
Exactly.
That's what I love about the books as well, because even though they are for children, it's in a way that everyone can learn from it and everyone can understand it as well.
Yeah, they're universal. And so then book 4, we get into bullying. So the perpetrator, I don't like calling a child a bully. I learned that. You don't label, going back to the labels, you don't label somebody a negative word, right? Because then that child will embody that spirit of the bully. So he was bullying in this story. We call him Petey Peach Fuzz. And top of the morning, they're on the school bus, and he's already eating junk food. So not only did he have negative behavior, but I showed the children and the people reading the book that he had negative eating habits. Right? As opposed to Get Well Johnny, who when you look at him, he has a pot belly, right? But he's actually proud of himself because he was eating very healthy, at a very healthy breakfast. And he understood that Petey Peach Fuzz's behavior was not only inappropriate, but the food that he was eating, was kind of a culprit in that behavior as well. So I'm subtly demonizing the behavior and the food as well, and then reinforcing healthy eating with the child. And then we get into standing up for yourself, and we get into all types of bullying: verbal bullying, physical bullying, cyber bullying.
Okay.
Everything is in here, and great activities in the back. I love this book. Then we get into allergy season, right? He learns through a story that his grandmother tells him about a man dealing with allergies, right? There once lived a man that lived in a town that lived in a house so high above ground. He cried and would weep for days and for weeks, coughing and sneezing. He barely could sleep.
Right. And the other beautiful thing about it is, you going back to what you said about the way we learn is through rhythm and repetition. And one thing with young people in reading books, these are books that they are going to pick up and read constantly. And so it's just something that will stay within them. And so even when they move on and make different choices, they always have this knowledge somewhere in the back of their head. So when they're introduced to it again in the future, it's like, wait, this sounds familiar. And this feels different. The other thing about books, when my son was born, his doctor said one of the best things that you can do for him is to read to him every single day. And the reason why reading is so wonderful is because it's nostalgic. And when you read with your child daily, what they remember is love and caring and family and, things like that. So with these books, when you're constantly reading it, it's making these topics safe for them and nourishing for them. And they will always come back to this. And so when they hear things about whole foods and water and, and standing up for yourself, these are safe words for them. And these are also healing words for them. And so that's what I love about these books. And there's a series of 12. We're not going to go through all of them, but y'all go and get the books, and we're going to share the information on how you guys can go and get the books, because I really do think that these is an essential part of learning for our young people. And like you said, and it's fun. I know that with this series, you created this series with is it Cousin Dave?
Yeah, Cousin Dave. He wasn't the original artist, and he actually passed away of cancer during the making of this series. And then I got another young girl, like a year later, maybe even more. I got all of the sketches that I thought were once lost, and they were buried in his garage and with his belongings. And I got literally the pencil sketches that we would draw together at a deli in Long Beach, and I got those back. Then I commissioned another young artist who had just finished art school, and she was able to help me with. You could see the difference of these books now that we're past. That's the six books that he completed fully, and then this book from book 7 on, you see a different feel to the illustrations. It's a more like modern kind of look as opposed to the classic look. So yeah, and even before Cousin Dave, there was another brother who helped me develop the character. We developed one full book, but then I got Cousin Dave to like even redo that book because I wanted a cohesive feel. But unfortunately, things happened how they happened.
Right. So how important is it to continue to push and get this message out there? Because again, this is something that you were working with Cousin Dave on for a while, and then he passed before the series was done, but he's still a part of it.
Yeah,
he's still a part of this. This is now a part of his legacy, and just continuing to keep his name and his spirit alive. Absolutely. So how important is it to take that with you?
It's a huge part of my childhood. Cousin Dave worked on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
He worked on Charlie Brown.
Okay.
So like he's part of our childhood. We don't know him. I want him to be known through this.
Right.
He put his life into this. This was his last project. So this is monumental because in the children's book space, the children's publishing world, out of the millions of books that are to market, there is not a comprehensive series like this ever. There has never been a children's holistic health series that teaches children from A to Z on how to manage their own health and be their own health advocates. This has never been done. Usually it's, hey, Mom, can I have this? Hey, Dad, can I have? But adults are health illiterate. Now we're teaching a generation of children to be health advocates. We're teaching children from kindergarten how to identify red number 40, a known carcinogen that we're selling in America. Other countries are not, or they have totally banned it. But we have to arm ourselves with this information so we can actually change something, because look at the state of children right now.
Right.
So.
Right, and this is a great book, not only for just to have it in your house, but it's also important to have books like this in schools as well. And how do we get the information out there, or how can we help you get the information out?
So I have a nonprofit organization. If you would like, donate. If you have a school that's in your neighborhood, donate to the Dr. Pooch Foundation at drpooch.com. That's DRPOOCH.com. You can also purchase your own series. You can let your neighborhood school know, or any youth center that you're connected to, daycares, anywhere where children are, local libraries, and advocate. Say, where is your health curriculum? Where is your health books on children's health? And they will have none, but you have the solution. Tell them, get some Dr. Pooch books in here. Get the Get Well Johnny book series. And that's what you can do. I need advocates. I need the books. The books work. The children are literally all across this nation, in little pockets around this nation, are utilizing my curriculum in homeschools, in private schools, in charter schools, in public schools. They're utilizing this curriculum because it's so needed to have this conversation. And like you said, the adults need it as well. The adults need to be reminded of the simplicity of health, and just taking it back to the simplest form, to nature, what nature has already provided, and having a relationship with not only nature, with themselves, and opening and developing that relationship with the children that they're the caretakers of. So, it's very, very important work, and you can just help by supporting and sharing a story online. This needs to go viral. I've yet to go viral. As of lately, I'm trying again, because
it's coming. Before we got on to the before we turned the mics on
Yeah.
in the studio, we were talking, and I was just telling him how I am a parking manifester.
That's right.
And and I said that the reason why I like anywhere we go, we can manifest parking. We always find parking. Parking is easy. And this is something that has been ingrained in us. So now we believe it. But the other part of it is that we're also able to let it go and understand that if we don't get parking close, that's not where we're supposed to be. And that walk from wherever we parked to the venue or to wherever our destination is, there is something within that journey that is supposed to happen. And so it's the same thing here. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. And when we talk about not going viral, and I think that we get so caught up sometimes in that part of it, you're not viral because there are other things that are happening right now that are falling into place that are lining up exactly the way they're supposed to be. And there are things that's happening within this journey, because had you gone viral years ago, we might not have met. And not just you and I, but so many other things that's happened along the way with so many lives, so many young people that you're able to touch, so many lives that you're able to heal, so many families that are healing from this opportunity to get you one-on-one with them. With all of that said, the name of the show is How Y'all Healing. And I definitely want to ask you, how are you healing?
You know, it's amazing to be a father. I have two boys. So I have an 8-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Okay.
And so it's just such a beautiful spectrum. Engaging with the 8-year-old. Today, we just went to the park. I picked him up from school, and I wanted to start homeschooling, though. But I picked him up from school, and we went straight to the park. That's our routine now. And, you know, we hit some pull-ups. And today, he got well over the bar, which is a crazy accomplishment because he's been trying for a little over 2 months now. And he's finally up there. He just jumps up on the bar and pulls himself up. I'm like, wow, look at this. Playing sports, playing basketball, playing soccer. I'm like, this is me. You know, this is the guidance that I needed at that age and that motivation. And I'm able to dump that in him and fill him up with everything that I feel that I didn't have, right? And then I look at his younger brother, who's a wild card, you know, and that just shows me a different aspect of myself. He kind of has my father's build. He's really, you know, like already like has shoulders and he's just buff. You know, he beats up everybody in the house and then he'll give you a kiss after he beats you up.
Right.
So it's another aspect of myself that's more rough and rugged, but he's my joy. I was talking with my wife and we love talking about our kids, right? Just how amazing they are, right?
I try not to be that parent, but I am clearly that parent.
We can't help it because we see we love ourselves, you know, and we see that reflection in them. And so I said, the oldest one, I feel like I just want to be his protector. But the youngest one, he's like my joy, my happiness. Right. And so it's that's how I'm healing through them and everything I'm doing, taking care of myself. I see this younger one, this wild card, and I'm like, yo, this guy's built different. I have to maintain a level of health and you know, endurance and strength.
And he's watching you because I know you've been working on your pull-ups and your
muscle ups.
Muscle ups,
yeah, all of that. And now that's his goal. The older one, he's like, we were just talking about that, you know, after we left the park. Like, hey, if you could do 5, because he's going to his chest, way above his chin.
Right.
And so I said, hey, if you could do 5 of those, then you could do 1 muscle up. And so now that's the next goal. And we just keep pushing the bar. We just keep succeeding. And those step by step, every day is a success. And we're goal oriented. And, you know, it's just such an amazing process. I am in love with being a father, and it's so rewarding. I didn't know that it's so impactful because I didn't have this
Right.
relationship with my
Right,
father.
but what I see is, and I go back to when we started and you talked about growing up and how you were almost like a sickly kid growing up. And so I don't see that kid, that younger you doing the pull-ups.
Yeah,
But
no.
now you get to show up for your son
Yes.
the way you said you don't have a relationship. You didn't have that kind of relationship with your father.
Yeah.
But now you get to show up for your son the way that you needed someone to show up for you.
Exactly.
And I've said this before in the show. I've learned that our first child is here to help us heal our wounds. And our second child is a representation of our unlimited selves and who we could have been. That's the healing. That's the healing that's happening. And I think we can close on that. Let's tell the folks before you get out of here, how can we follow you? And we will have if y'all go to the show notes, all of the information is there. But just
Dr. Dr_Pooch. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. Join my email list. I'll be sending you emails. I'm doing a lot in the background to keep the community engaged and keep the community growing. So thank you so much, Spry, for having me.
Absolutely, and thank you for joining us. Make sure y'all go out and get that Get Well Johnny 12 series. I am going to go through this. I'm ready and excited to introduce this series to my children and for us, and not just to them, for me. I'm excited about learning from this series as well. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you everybody for joining us. As always, please, please, please follow us. If you have not started following us yet, or at How Y'all Healing on Instagram, follow us there. Please review, like, share, all of that. This podcast, thank you for being a part of the family, and thank you for helping us continue to help it grow. And as always, I want to leave you with continue to choose joy, lead with love, and find your peace. My name is Spry Lee Scott, and this is How Y'all Healing. Peace out, y'all.
Peace.